A new report from a Dallas Mavericks insider suggests the Chicago Bulls are interested in trading for Maxi Kleber in a potential Lauri Markkanen sign-and-trade. So, should we do it? Let's talk about it. I'm Ross, this is Arturis Fan Club, and you guys know the drill. If you enjoy my content, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment as well. All of those things help me a ton. I'm at Arturis Fan Club on all platforms. Never miss a video. And hey, if you really like me, $4.99 a month and you can join the Arturis Super Fan Club. It supports the channel, it supports me directly, and you get early access to videos, exclusive content, badges, emojis. I'm doing community posts, I'm doing polls, giving you guys a little bit of background into behind the scenes of what I do. Communicating with you directly. So it's actually a really cool way for us to stay engaged and for you to support me if you like what I do. So $4.99 a month, I would really appreciate if you would at least consider it. And if you can't, that's not a problem either, baby, because we're making content all the time, every single day. I did a live stream last night for the Summer League game. I won't be able to do one tonight, unfortunately. I thought I was going to be able to, but I am going to be busy tonight. So no live stream tonight for the Summer League game, but make sure to go check the one out from last night. It's 2 hours long. We had a ton of fun. We watched the game live. I answered questions from Twitter. So that was a great time, but back on track. The report is from Tim Cato, the Dallas Mavericks reporter for The Athletic, basically suggesting the Chicago Bulls are interested in Maxi Kleber should they pull off a sign-and trade to send Lauri Markkanen to the Dallas Mavericks. And actually, I'm a fan of this. Aside from just the obvious of like, let's get resolution to the Lauri Markkanen situation, we wake up every single day, we check Twitter, we check our phones throughout the day, waiting for the news to drop. And some news was happening today and yesterday. We had the Clippers and Memphis Grizzlies trade. We had that contract extension for Marcus Smart. The Pelicans ended up agreeing to a contract with Josh Hart. So things are happening in the NBA, right? It's not like things are stalled completely across the league. So the stalemate between the Bulls and Lauri Markkanen, hopefully, maybe, could be getting somewhere as we get further into the offseason. Teams don't have cap space anymore. So the original report that we had talked about was that the Bulls only wanted draft capital in a trade for Lauri Markkanen. They did not want to take back any salary. It's starting to look like that's not a reality. That's not going to be possible because every team is at least at or close to the cap, and they're not going to be able to sign Lauri Markkanen to a nice little contract without sending some salary out. So that's kind of the situation right now. We're looking at a couple of teams. I know the Timberwolves were mentioned before. I remember the Hornets. I doubt the Pelicans are in anymore because they gave Josh Hart that new contract. But the Mavericks are the team that keeps getting brought up the most. We see their name tied to Lauri Markkanen throughout, even since the trade deadline last season. There were a few different players that were mentioned. We had originally talked about Jalen Brunson when the Bulls were still looking for point guards. Bulls aren't looking for point guards anymore. Now we're looking for some front court depth, and enter Maxi Kleber. Now, I don't know if you guys are super familiar with Maxi Kleber. We're going to start talking about him in a second. But as far as it goes for Lauri Markkanen, the $9 million qualifying offer, he does not want to take. He does not want to play on a 1-year, $9 million deal. He believes he is worth more than that. The Bulls have 3 roster spots that they need to fill. So something needs to happen. And it seems like everything is kind of on pause for the Bulls until the Lauri Markkanen situation gets resolved. We're looking at veteran minimum deals, potentially looking at a guy like Paul Millsap. His name keeps getting brought up in regards to the Bulls, a couple other teams too. But it's interesting that he hasn't made a decision yet when there's interest from these other teams, and the Bulls are the team that needs to make this move before they can go out and sign a guy like him. So that's a name to keep in your back pocket. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMarcus Cousins, those are a couple other guys. I've seen Harry Giles' name brought up a little bit. I don't know if it's Giles or Giles. You can yell at me in the comments. I know Noah Vonleh, he's been tied to the Bulls. He used to play for the Bulls. So he's another guy that the Bulls are taking a look at, potentially on one of those veteran minimum deals. But Lauri Markkanen needs to find a new team. We already know. He told the Finnish reporters he doesn't want to come back to Chicago, and it seems like by all accounts the Bulls are kind of done with him anyway. So Maxi Kleber is a guy that I would be really happy getting back in a trade for Lauri Markkanen. Now, I might want a second rounder packaged with him. Maxi Kleber is a little bit older. He's going to be going into his 29-year-old season or 30-year-old season coming up here next season. So not the youngest guy, but he's on a nice contract. He's actually making less than Lauri Markkanen would be on that qualifying offer. He's making about $8.5 million this year, and then it's going to go up to $9 million next year. So definitely on a nice value contract. Now, I know that there's been some concerns about his performance in the playoffs this past season. I'd like to remind people he was hurt, and he was coming off of a bout with COVID. So during the playoffs, yes, he had a disappointing performance. His last season was not his best in the pros, but there are extenuating circumstances that led to that. And throughout the rest of his career, hasn't been in the NBA for a super long time, but he has proven to be a valuable asset on both ends of the floor, namely a very underrated post defender, which, when we talk about front court depth, that's one of our biggest needs, is a little bit of defense, a little bit of juice from the four. And that's what Maxi Kleber can give you. We're talking about a guy who has averaged over a block before in his career. He averages almost a block over his total career. We're talking about a guy who has really great footwork in the lane. He's shut down the likes of Zion Williamson. That's a game you should go watch. The highlights for that one are a lot of fun. And we're also talking about a guy who is a good catch and shoot three-pointer. Not the same kind of three-pointer as Lauri Markkanen, who's more of a stationary shooter. Maxi Kleber has the ability to shoot off motion. And he's been what I would call a low shot attempt, high efficiency three-point shooter throughout his career. He's not going to take a lot of shots, but when he does, he is a good shooter. And obviously having the new weapons, the new playmakers, the new spacing that the Bulls have now, I think he would be a great fit. And I'm really excited at the prospect of potentially getting Maxi Kleber. Another thing to keep in mind, he started a lot of games for the Mavericks. He is firmly going to be a bench player for the Bulls. Okay, that's a role that he's not going to have to be given too much responsibility in. Okay, we're asking for some bench defense, situational defense. Obviously coming in with Tony Bradley would be a really good lineup with Maxi Kleber and Tony Bradley off the bench. But you can also make room for DeMar DeRozan to play next to him, who struggles with defense. You can make room for maybe him to play with Nikola Vucevic sometimes, who struggles on defense. So there are ways to get a guy like this who provides good, maybe not great. I understand that there are some concerns about his speed, about his lateral quickness, about his strength even sometimes. I understand those things, but someone who is a high IQ player, who plays with finesse, who has good fundamentals, who has good technique, that would be really, really helpful for a team that is going, as of right now, as it's currently constructed, is going to struggle mightily on the defensive end. At least, the bench is going to struggle defensively. We don't really have a backup power forward who can play any defense. If Lauri Markkanen does come back, that's going to be a problem. And hey, even if you go out there and you trade for Maxi Kleber, maybe you can still sign Paul Millsap. I'm not totally sure on how the contract situation would work out in regards to the veteran minimum salary in addition to taking on Maxi Kleber's salary. I know that Lauri Markkanen has about a $20 million cap hold, but we're already over the cap. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I do know that trading Lauri Markkanen will create some flexibility for us, getting him off the books. But like I said, don't know bringing in Maxi Kleber's contract, how that will totally affect it. But like I said, that option is still there of looking at guys on the veteran minimum salary. Noah Vonleh would work. If you end up getting Maxi Kleber, I'd feel better about Noah Vonleh. If it was just Noah Vonleh that you're bringing in, that would be a little bit troublesome. But having that kind of depth is exactly what the Bulls need right now. I would be ecstatic if the Bulls were able to pull this trade off. We're just going to have to kind of keep waiting to see. This is a problem because as we get further into the offseason, like I said, maybe Paul Millsap doesn't want to wait around anymore. Maybe he wants to just get to a team, sign a contract, and move on with his season. So we're going to have to see. Let's run through some of Maxi Kleber's stats here, though. So I'm going to throw out last season. It was a weird year. I would do that for most players, but still, even despite some of the struggles, still shot the ball pretty well. Ended up with a 41% from 3-point range. That's great. On once again, low attempts, but high efficiency, which you love to see. Always been a really good field goal percentage guy from the field in general. Never been a problem for him. He's career 4 46%. Highest he's ever averaged in a season was 9.1. That was primarily coming off the bench. Last season, he actually started 40 games and only scored 7 points per game. Once again, was dealing with injuries, ended up with that bout of COVID. A guy who can get you a couple assists a game, can definitely hit the boards pretty hard. He's big and tall. He's got long arms. He's able to hit the boards offensively and on defense, and block shots. The highest he's averaged was 1.1 blocks, and he did that for 2 seasons, right around 1 block per game for his career. So really good stats overall. Not the kind of guy that's going to handle the ball really. You're not going to ask him to do a whole lot, but when you do get the ball in his hands for an open 3 or a catch and shoot 3, he'll be able to pick and pop a little bit. So those are things that will come naturally with how many other scorers we have. It's not, like I said, going to be a big responsibility of his to be shooting a bunch of 3-pointers. So with that kind of efficiency on low attempts, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck there. And Lauri Markkanen, you're going to lose a little bit of scoring from losing Lauri Markkanen, but I really feel like moving the needle towards defense is way more beneficial for us right now in the long run. So this is a move that I'm a big supporter of. I would encourage you to go watch Maxi Kleber highlights. Specifically, you can search Maxi Kleber defense on YouTube. There are a ton of compilations. Just can't really show you those in this video, but definitely go check those out. I think you guys will be really impressed and really excited by what you see. We're talking about a guy, like I said, who is high IQ, has really good fundamentals, and will absolutely benefit from playing next to a guy like Tony Bradley off the bench or Trey Brown Jr. off the bench. This would really bolster our bench and I feel like make us a lot better. So Lauri Markkanen, I think, still has a place in this league. I think he still has a ton of value. I just think it's time for him to get a little bit of a change of scenery. And I read some things from Mavs fans who are saying, Maxi might benefit from a change of scenery himself. We're talking about a guy coming off a disappointing season by his standards, who might benefit from playing with a new crop of talented young players. So Maxi Kleber, a name to watch in the Lauri Markkanen sweepstakes. We're waiting here, man. As soon as I hear something, this is the place to go, but nothing quite yet. So stay tuned for any Lauri Markkanen updates. I've got some videos coming this week about the fit with DeMar DeRozan in our new lineup. I asked for a couple ideas from you guys on my community tab. Make sure to go check that out. If you have an idea for a video, you can always leave it in the comments. I check the comments, so I see all the good and all the bad. But thank you guys for watching this video. Once again, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm at Arturus Fan Club on all platforms. Do not forget about the Super Fan Club. We talked about it at the jump. And hey, if you really like my content, you could rep. You could get some merch. ArturusFanClub.com/shop. You can get yourself a t-shirt, a mug, a tumbler, all kinds of really cool stuff. And once again, that support goes directly back to me, and it helps me make more videos, and it helps me spend more time investigating, researching, editing, just making these videos as good as I can possibly make them. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing a disservice by not doing enough research, so I'm trying my best to take some time to do even more research into the stats, which takes time. That's a time-consuming process. It's easy for me to sit here and analyze based off what I've seen and what I've read, but going in and researching the stats in depth is something I would love to do even more. So as I keep getting closer to my goal of one day turning this into my job, I'm definitely going to keep giving you guys more stats and more information from this nerdy noggin of mine. So thank you again for watching, and we will talk very soon.